Okay, good evening, all of you. Those of you who are in Zoom and those of you who are viewing me on YouTube, good evening to all. So, as I had indicated in the last session, this is a follow-up of that session. Okay, we're still having people joining in. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So permutation combination is a very uh, important part of CAT and MBA preparation. And if you think of CAT, as I told you in the last class, permutation combination number theory accounts for roughly 20% of the questions. Has been that has been the case since 2016, 17. And last year also, that is 2020 also, there were around 5 questions out of 26 which were based either on permutation combination or number theory, mostly number theory in 2020, I guess. Now, my question to all of you is, before I begin, how many of you don't have a background in maths? Just before I start. Yeah, good evening, Kritika. How many of you don't have a background in maths? If you don't have a background in maths, just let me know, because that will help me get started. Okay, Harshit doesn't have a background in maths. Okay, Kritika doesn't have a background in maths. Fine. So, see, permutation combination is a topic that assumes, it's not exactly going to be a very elementary session, because certain things the session will assume. Before I start, a small introduction of Pathfinder. We have had 20 years of existence from 1999 onwards till 2018. There was a break for 2 years, and 2020 onwards, we have just restarted our operations in November 2020. We've touched more than 20,000 lives so far. In fact, more than 25,000, I guess. And thousands of our students are already successful at top B schools, IIMs, XLRI, FMS, and IIT. That's all I would like to suggest about our introduction. Now, I will start by introducing something called as a factorial, which is elementary for engineers, may not be elementary exactly for non-engineers. So if you're an engineer, just be with me for 5 minutes. I will go through these elementaries and then launch into questions. So what is factorial n? Factorial n is nothing but 1 into 2 into 3 and so on till n. If I were to describe, factorial 5 is 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. And today we will solve questions of CAT. But we have to start with some basics first. Somebody has his mic on. Can you please, Jyoti, I guess your mic is on. Can you please put it on mute? Thank you. So factorial 5 is 120. Factorial 6 will be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5 into 6. And that makes it factorial 6, which is equal to 720. And another thing that I want to introduce is NCR, which is the number of ways of selecting. And I'm doing this only for those who don't have a background in maths. Number of ways of selecting R people out of N. R people out of N. Because today's session revolves around this formula, NCR. So NCR can also be written as Cn comma R is defined as factorial n upon factorial r into factorial n minus r. Somebody please, can you switch off your mic? I guess Jyoti. Yeah. Jyoti, I request you to switch off your mic if you don't have anything to say. If you want to say something, please use the chat box. Thank you. So if we have something like 5c2, then we'll calculate it as factorial 5 upon factorial 2 into factorial 5 minus 2, that is factorial 3. And how you will solve it? 5 into 4. Jyoti, if you don't switch off your mic, I'll have to put you out of the room, please. Don't make me do that. Please switch off the mic. Put your mic on mute, Jyoti. Yeah. So 5 into 4 into factorial 3 divided by factorial 2 into factorial 3. This cancels out and you get 5 into 4, 20 upon 2, that is 10 as your answer. This is a simple calculation which all of you should know in order to survive today's session. This is all. This is the only process part. Everything else is logic. First is NCR, that is number of ways of selecting R people out of N. So if I have to select 3 people out of 5, then my answer will be 5C3. If I have to select 5 people out of 8, then answer will be 8C5 and so on. And how do you calculate that? You calculate NCR by this formula, factorial n upon factorial r into factorial n minus r. So can you all quickly give me values of these factorials? I'll give you 1 minute. Please give me values of these factorials. Yeah, Anurag, Mishtika, Kritika, I understand you may not have a background in maths. So this is 10C2, which is equal to factorial 10 upon factorial 2 into factorial 10 minus 2 is factorial 8. And how did we solve this? We solved this by saying 10 into 9 into factorial 8, because 8 into 9, 8 into 7 into 6 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 will be factorial 8 upon factorial 2 into factorial 8. This cancels out. And what do you get? You get 45 as the answer. So can you quickly give me these answers? Mishtika, Kritika, if you can just tell me that you understood this, I can proceed to the questions actually. And we can go to some questions. And there is an interesting mix of questions today, old CAT questions as well as some challenging questions if somebody is really keen. Yes, 9C3. How will you calculate 9C3? 9C3 is factorial 9 upon factorial 3 into factorial 9 minus 3, that is 6. So factorial 6. This can be written as 9 into 8 into 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 can be written as factorial 6 divided by a factorial 3 into factorial 6. So I'll cancel this out. And what do you get? 9 into 8 into 7 upon 6, right? 3, 4, 12 sevens are 84 is your answer. Please make sure that you know how to calculate this. I hope everybody has understood how to calculate this. This is 10C4. This is factorial 10 upon factorial 4 into factorial 10 minus 4, that is factorial 6. I can write this as 10 into 9 into 8 into 7 into 6 factorial upon factorial 4 into factorial 6. This cancels out, and 210 is your answer. So I guess this calculation part is clear to all. Anybody with a small doubt? Anybody with a doubt on how to calculate this NCR? If you have a doubt, please let me know, because today's session heavily depends on this, your ability to calculate NCR. If you have not understood how to calculate NCR, ask me right away. I will help you.
Excuse me, sir. How the denominator
Sir,
factorial 4 has been solved?
Okay, how denominator factorial 4 has been solved. Fine. So let me help you there. This is 10C4. 10C4 gives you factorial 10 upon factorial 4 multiplied by factorial 6. So I can write this as 10 into 9 into 8 into 7 into 654321 can be written as factorial 6, which cancels out with factorial 6 here. And factorial 4, I can write it down as 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Factorial 6 cancels out. And what you get here is 8, 3 3s are 9, 3 7s are 21 into 10 gives you 210. Does that explain?
Yes, sir.
So calculate NC3, calculate the last question there, that is 12C3. Make sure you understand how this has been calculated, because you know, as I said, today's session relies heavily on this. And you know, I can't every time be able to tell you in every question how to calculate 12C3. So this is factorial 12 upon factorial 3 into factorial 9. In our routine class, we would definitely, for non-engineers, we cover this, how to calculate. We spend a session on calculating NCR and NPR and factorials. But in a demo class, you know, I cannot afford that kind of time. So factorial 12 upon factorial 3 into factorial 9. So 12 can be written as 12 into 11 into 10 upon 3 into 2 into 1 for factorial 3. And factorial 9 and factorial 9 will get cancelled out from both numerator and denominator. So 333 and 330 should be your answer. I hope I've not made a mistake somewhere. Is this calculation clear to all? Can we actually go to the questions now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think 220 is the answer that I've got, Charu. I guess I've made some mistake somewhere. Right. Now remember, whenever you're talking of selections, NCR, it tells you selections of R things out of N things. So for example, I have to select a team of 11 out of 16. What will my answer be? 16C11. If there are 20 people for an interview, out of which 3 must be selected, 3 must be selected. Out of 20, I have to select 3. So my answer will be 23, and you can calculate it. Have you understood this? So number of selections of R things out of N things is given by 20C3. Suppose there are 20 people for an interview, and out of these 20 people, 5 people can't be selected for whatever reason, and you have to select 5. Now what is the effective number of people here instead of 20? The effective number of people instead of 20 is 20 minus 5, because 5 people can't be selected, so only 15 can be selected. So your answer in this case will be 15C5. I hope this is clear. Let us go to the first set of questions. Right? Try doing this question. I'll give you 1 minute. I don't want you to calculate the answer. I just want to you to give me an answer in the form of NCR. That's all. Don't calculate. Once you get an answer, just put it in the chat box. You got 1 minute. And if you are viewing this on YouTube live, please pardon me. I am not able to answer your questions. Probably some of you are asking some questions. Okay, 16C4 is what? Alia says 13 students. Okay, let me explain here. Now see, this class has 20 students, of which 4 have to be selected. If there were no constraint, my answer would be simple, 20C4. But there is a constraint. What is that constraint? Out of 4 students required, 1 is already selected. So how many you need now? You need 3. You don't need to select 4, you need 3. And out of 20 students, 4 other students can't be selected. So 4 students cannot be selected. So how many can be selected? 16, and 1 is already selected. So what is remaining is 15. So 4 can't be selected, 1 is already selected. You have 15 remaining students. Of these 15 remaining students, you got to select 3. So your answer must be 15C3. Clear? Alia and Mishtika, have you recognized your mistake? See, one student is already selected, so you don't need to
Yes, sir.
select that. Okay. Can we move to the next one? Okay. A committee of 4 has to be selected from a group of 5 men and 4 women. And you have to select a committee of 4. In how many ways can you select if there one man and one woman are compulsory? Now, before we launch ourselves into this question, let us just have a look at something. Suppose there are 5 men and 5 women, and we have to make a committee of 4. Now, there is no constraint on women or men. So remember, when there is no constraint, I can have cases because I can have all the 4 men and 0 women. Or alternately, I can have the second case, that is 3 men and 1 woman. Or I can have another case, that is 2 men and 2 women. Or I could have another case, 1 man and 3 women. Or I could have the fifth case, 0 men and 4 women. I'm sorry. So this is the first thing you need to remember. Each case is called as an OR case. OR case means the answer for each case has to be added. So if the answer for case 1 is x1, answer for case 2 is x2, answer for case 3 is x3, x4 and x5, your overall answer will be x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5. Remember, whenever in mathematics you have OR, you replace OR by an addition sign. In this case, you will have case 1 or case 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So answer to each case, there is a OR in between, so you replace these OR by plus sign, x3 plus x4 plus x5. So with this in mind, let us look at our question. Now in our question, case 1, now one man is mandatory, compulsory. So the minimum I can have is one man. So one man, then there must be three women. This is case 1. What about case 2? I could have two men, in which case I will have two women also, because committee of 4 has to be selected, and out of 4, at least one has to be a man and one has to be a woman. Case 3, I could have 3 men and 1 woman. Can I have a case where there are 4 men and 0 women? The answer is no, because at least one man and at least one woman have to be there. So what are we selecting? We are selecting for case 1, we are selecting one man and 3 women, but one man out of 5 men, 3 women out of 4 women. So if you have to select 1 out of 5, you will have 5C1, and if you have to select 3 out of 4, you will have 4C3. I told you or is replaced by a plus sign in maths and will always be replaced by a multiplication sign in maths. So you have to do both. If you got to select a committee of 4, you have to select one man and you have to select 3 women. And therefore there is an and in between, which will be replaced by a multiplication sign. Similarly, I will have 5C2 into 4C2 here, 3C2 into 5C3 into 4C1 here. So this is all very elementary. For anybody with a background in maths, this will be very, very elementary. The non-maths guys, have you understood this? And you can ask me as many questions as you want to. And if somebody feels this is too easy, just let me know in the chat box. I'll give you a challenging enough question for you. Anybody who's not followed this? Everybody has followed this? Okay. So what do you do now? Just add up 5C1 into 4C3 plus 5C2 into 4C2 plus 5C3 into 4C1. And see, what do you get as the answer? 5C1 is 5. I'm just calculating fast. This is 10. This must be 6. 10 and 4. You get 20 plus 60 plus 40. 120 as your answer. Are you clear on how this has been solved? See, forget about the calculation part for now. Have you understood how I got 5C1, 4C3, why I multiplied? If this is clear, then the question is clear. Because calculation part, you will have to practice a bit. I want to ensure that logic is clear today. Everybody. Anybody with any questions? Okay. So let us move to the next question.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please. हाँ जी पूछिए.
Sir, actually, I cannot understand this.
Okay. So, may I know who's speaking?
Sir, I'm Alia.
Yeah, Alia, tell me.
Sir, actually, what is 5C1, 4C3? Actually, I cannot understand.
See, I told you in the beginning that number of selections of R things out of N is given by NCR. This is something which you have to commit to memory. So if you have to select 1 out of 5, you will write this as 5C1. If you have to select 2 out of 7, you will have to write it as 7C2. If you have to select 3 out of 10, you will write it as 10C3. Alia, is that clear? Alia, is that clear? Okay, I think Alia is on mute right now. Let's go to the next question, please. See, almost a similar question. A, B, C, D, E, and F are 6 men working for Da Pizzeria, a popular pizza company. P, Q, R, S, and T are 5 women working with the same company. A team of 5 has to be selected. In how many ways can the team be selected so that each team has at least 3 women? So you have 6 men and you have 5 women. Case 1. Can anybody tell me how many men and how many women can be there in case 1? Anybody, if you can write it in the chat box. Number of men and number of women in case 1. Anyone? The minimum number of women is 3. So obviously we'll start with 3 women. And since the total number of people are 5, I have to select 2 men. This must be case 1. See, we have to select a team of 5, right? Charu, not 6. Case 2. 4 women and obviously 1 man. And case 3 must be all 5 women because there is no constraint on men. I can have 0 men. The total must be 5. Now, in how many ways can case 1 be there? Case 1 का answer क्या आएगा? You have to select 2 out of 6 and 5 out of 3. So you will do 6C2 multiplied by 5C3. Case 2, you have to do 6C1, 1 out of 6 and 4 women out of 5 into 5C4. Case 3, you have to do 6C0 into 5C5 and all you need to do is add up 6C2 into 5C3 plus 6C1 into 5C4 plus 6C0 into 5C5. And you will easily get the answer 15 into 10 plus 30 plus this is 6C0, so 1. So answer will be 181. I hope this much is clear to you. Yeah. So there have been CAT questions asked on this type of settings. If we have the time today, we'll actually reach CAT questions also. Okay, this is an interesting question. In 2020, the National Premier League was held recently with 8 teams participating in it. The first round has each team playing against every other team 2 times. How many matches will be held in the first round? It's like the Indian Premier League, IPL. So now tell me, what does this imply? if you have 8 teams participating and every team plays against every other team. Okay, let me simplify this question for you. Suppose there were only 3 teams, A, B, and C. So if every team would play against every other team, A would play with B, A would play with C, and B would play with C, right? So what is this? When teams are playing matches, we are just grouping them into groups of how many people? Into 2. This question is very similar to a question which says how many groups of 2 people you can make from 3. So how many groups of 2 people? If AB3 were 3 people, I could make 3 groups of 2 people each, AB, AC, and BC. If there were 4 people or 4 teams and they were playing a match against every other team, each team played every other team. So A would play with B, A would play with C, A would play with D, then B with C, then B with D, and then C with D. How many matches are these? These are 6 matches. But these are also groups of 2 from amongst 4. So it is analogous to saying we are selecting 2 people from 4. Your answer must be 4C2. In this case, how many teams are there? There are 8 teams, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So if every team plays against every other team once, I have to make a group of 2 from 8 teams once. But he's saying they're playing 2 times. Playing 2 times means I have to do 8C2 into 2. So your answer must be 28 multiplied by 2, which is equal to 56. Have you understood this? Have you all understood this? Anybody who has a doubt, please feel free. Okay, nobody has raised a doubt. Now see, just as we are grouping these teams into groups of 2, I could have said 8 people shaking hands with each other. Is it any different? 8 people in such a way that each person plays a match against every other person, and 8 people in a room, each person shakes hands with every other person. Will the number of cases be same? See, if there are 3 people in a room, ABC, and everybody shakes hands with everybody else, how many shake hands are there? AB, AC, and BC. So there are 3 shake hands. If there are 4 people, A, B, C, D, how many shake hands will be there? A will shake hand with B, A will shake hand with C, A will shake hand with D, B will shake hands with C, B will shake hands with D, and C will shake hands with D. So how many shake hands in all? 6. It's actually the same. So if my question were 8 people sitting in a room, everybody shakes hands with everybody else, how many handshakes are feasible? What will your answer be? Can you give me the answer in the chat box? Anyone? 8 people in a room, everybody shaking hands with everybody else is again 8C2. So I could generalize it as saying that if there are n people in a room, the maximum number of handshakes will be NC2. Maximum handshakes. Although I don't want you to mug up, I want you to understand. N teams part. Now see how all these concepts are connected, right? Just see. N people or N teams participating in a tournament, participating in a tournament, such that every team plays against every other team. Again, the number of matches will be NC2. Now listen to me very, very carefully. N lines in a plane, total number of points of intersection. Now see, each point of intersection is like a handshake between the two lines. When do you have a point of intersection? When two lines cross each other. It's like a handshake. It's like playing a game. Again, your answer will be NC2. Can you see the connection? Can you see the similarity between all these cases? If there are n points in a plane, you can just write that down if you want to. No three are in the same straight line. Number of lines that can be drawn. Now, to draw a line, you need 2 points. Only then you can draw a line. Once again, it's like a handshake. The number of lines that can be drawn is NC2. Are you getting the point, all of you? So n lines in a plane, the number of points of intersection is also NC2. N points in a plane, the number of lines that can be drawn is also NC2. N teams participating in a tournament, the total number of games will also be NC2. Now, see another absolutely different case. There are N stations and you have to issue tickets, right? Again, tickets can be issued between two stations. So number of tickets issued will be NC2. But for two stations A and B, one ticket will be from A to B, another ticket will be from B to A. So you have to multiply this by 2. So the total number of tickets issued will be NC2 into 2. So it is the same concept of selection, which you have to apply in order to solve the questions. Now let us look at some more questions. So try solving this question. I'll give you 2 minutes. Try to solve this question. And as I said, normally this concept is taught after first 3 to 4 sessions of permutation combinations. Then we generally reach to this concept. So this concept is not a very elementary concept. Anybody who's got the answer, please? Okay, 10 points are drawn in a plane. What is the maximum points, what is the maximum number of lines that can be drawn with these points? So if this constraint were not given that 5 points are in the same straight line, then my answer would have been 10C2. My answer should have been 10C2. But since 5 of these points are in the same straight line, these points won't form different lines. They will form only one line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 points are bound to form only one line. So I have to subtract 5 C2 lines which have been counted and add this one line which has been formed. So my answer will be 10C2 minus 5C2 plus 1. So 45 minus 10 plus 1 will give me 36 as the answer. Now, if there are 10 points in a plane, how many triangles? For triangles, you require 3 points. You need to select 3 points. So number of triangles will be 10C3. But again, these 5 points are in the same straight line and no triangle will be formed here. So you will have to subtract 5C3 triangles which would otherwise have been formed. So 10C3 minus 5C3. So this must be 120 minus 10C3 is 10 into 9 into 8 upon 6. This gives you 4, 3. So 120 minus 10, that is 110. I hope this solution is clear to you. Try solving this next question. Please solve the next question. I'm giving you 2 minutes. I guess we have 15 odd minutes. Okay, anybody who got the answer? Anybody who got this answer? Okay, let me help you. 12 lines are drawn in a plane. Now suppose the constraint of 4 lines passing through the same point were not there. Then what will be the number of points of intersection? I just now told you 12C2 points of intersection. But 4 of these lines pass through the same point. If 4 of these lines pass through the same point, obviously these 4 C2 points of intersection are not possible. There's only one point of intersection. But there are 3 others which are parallel also. So there is no point of intersection from parallel lines. So you will have to subtract 3C2 also. So 12C2 minus 4C2 minus 3C2 plus 1. 12C2 is 66 minus 6 plus 1 minus 3. So you get 58 as your answer. Next, let us look at a CAT wala question now before we go in. Otherwise, we'll. Okay, Kingshuk, just 1 minute. Let me solve this question. I'll repeat a similar question. Don't worry. This is an old CAT question, and you see it's quite similar to what we have just now covered. A man has 9 friends. He has to invite 4 boys and 5 girls. In how many ways he can invite them if there are exactly 3 girls in the invitees? Right? So you have 4 boys and you have 5 girls. This is an old CAT question. So how many cases are there? There are exactly 3 girls. Is there any constraint on total number? there is no constraint on total number. The only constraint that is there is on the number of girls. So every case will have the same girls, same number of girls. So there are three girls in every case. So in the first case, we have three girls and number of boys is 0. In the second case, we have three girls and one boy. In the third case, we have three girls and two boys. In the fourth case, we have three girls and three boys. And in the fifth case, we have three girls and four boys. So these are the five possible cases, correct? And what will your answer be? 4C0 into 5C3 plus 4C1 into 5C3 plus 4C2 into 5C3 plus 4C3 into 5C3 plus 4C4 into 5C3. So your answer will be 10, 40, 4, 360, 40, and 10. The total answer must be B, 160. So this is a CAT question which we had earlier solved and which is exactly based on the concept that we have. And I have actually quite a few CAT questions. Let us solve one more. See, how many triangles can be drawn by joining three vertices of a pentagon? So pentagon is basically a figure with five sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is a pentagon. So you can see that there are 5 points. And to make a triangle out of 5 points, you have to select 3 points. In how many ways you can do that? You can do that in 5C3 ways. Your answer is 10. So that brings me back to Kingshuk's question. Kingshuk, what was your question? I have a lot of good questions, but shortage of time does not allow me to cover those questions right now. So 12 lines are drawn on a plane. 4 of these lines pass through the same point. So the maximum number of points of intersection, if there are n lines, the maximum point of intersection is NC2. There were 12 lines, so the maximum points of intersection will be 12C2. But 4 of these lines pass through the same point. So obviously these 4C2 points of intersection never were made. They were not made. But one was made because they are coincident. They are passing through the same point. And 3 others are parallel. So there are no points of intersection from these 3 points, from these 3 lines, I'm sorry. So your answer will be 12C2 minus 4C2 minus 3C2 and plus 1. If you calculate this, you will get 58 as the answer. So I guess we have time for just one additional question. Let us do this one. Let's see. Anybody who can solve this one? There are 3 French couples, 4 American couples, and 5 Indian couples. Okay, I'll give you 1 minute to try this question, please. Okay, so how many people are there? There are 6 French, 8 Americans, because they are couples, right? 4 couples, so 8, and 10 Indian people. 18, 6, 24 people in all. Now, suppose there were no constraint. So all of them will shake hands with each other. So there must be 24C2 handshakes. Now, husband wives don't shake hands. So 3 French husband wives, they won't shake hands. 4 American husband wives, they won't shake hands. And 5 Indian husband wives, they also don't shake hands. Minus Indian wives, 5 Indian wives did not shake hands with 3 French men and 4 American men. So 7 men in all. So 24C2, 12 into 23. So 12 to 42, 76, minus 12, minus 35. So minus 47. Have you understood this? So 276 minus 47 is 229. So total number of handshakes are 229. I guess I'll have to stop here for shortage of time. I do not wish to, overshoot the time, the time limit. Thank you very much for being here.
Sir,
Yes, I know this session was not a very elementary session because I had already told that I would like to cover CAT level questions. Uh, if you have any feedback on, or if you want us to take an elementary session, we could make the next session a very elementary one, especially so if you're a non-engineer or don't have a background in maths. Please do give your feedback on the WhatsApp number that you already have with you. Yes, please. Somebody was wanted to say something. Somebody wanted to say something, right? You can write it down if you're not able to speak. You can just write it down in the chat box. No? All right, then. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. And hope to see you in the next session. The next session will be on Wednesday, that is day after tomorrow. We plan to cover logarithms, but if we receive any feedback from you, we will try to accommodate that feedback in the session on Wednesday. That's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
sir. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.